Hello everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video. My name is Phil. My channel is called Rookie Card Collector, which kind of describes the primary focus of my collection these days. My plan for making YouTube videos going forward is going to try to get 2 videos a week out there. One video will be a series focusing on Hall of Fame rookie cards, initially starting with baseball and eventually moving on later to football, basketball, and hockey, as the picture on the screen shows there. Those are some key rookie cards from the various sports on the cover of a book that I published back in 2015. I wanted to give a little background about myself and my collecting journey first. My very first card purchases was back in 1977, picking up unopened packs, wax packs, in the local candy store up in New Jersey, where I'm from, and putting top sets together. At that time, there were no inserts or autographs or anything like that, so it was just real basic. Sorry about that. Just real basic. Set building. I did that for throughout the late 70s into the early 80s, and back in 1981 I once again was doing a top set as well as the new companies that were out that year, Fleer and Donruss. And one day after school, late in the year in 81, one of my friends was over at the house, and we were trying to complete our Topps baseball sets for the year. And he brought over duplicates, and I had pulled out mine, and I needed 3 more cards at that point to complete the 81 Topps baseball set, and they were all commons. So I asked my friend if he had these 3 cards. He looked through his copies. He said yes, he actually had all 3. So I asked what he'd want in trade for those, because that's what you did back then. You generally didn't buy cards from each other, you traded. So he asked me if I had any Los Angeles Dodger Future Star cards. And I looked at my copies, and I actually had 3 duplicates in addition to the one in my set. So I let him know that, and he agreed to trade me the 3 cards I needed to complete my set for the 3 Dodger Future Star cards. And afterwards, I was kind of curious as to why somebody would want 3 of the same card. But I didn't really care. I was able to complete my set, so I was real happy about that. Next year, early 1982, in the spring, I was looking at my Beckett price guide, and I noticed that the Dodgers Future Star card from 81 Topps, it had a notation there that said Fernando Valenzuela rookie card. And of course, in 81, Valenzuela was a big hit in Major League Baseball, winning Rookie of the Year and all. And I saw the $3 price tag next to his card. And it was at that point that I realized that my friend, while enabling me to complete my set, was basically investing in Fernando Valenzuela rookie cards. And for the first time, I kind of grasped the concept that rookie cards were the most valuable and the most collected and the most wanted cards amongst any player issues as compared to 2nd year, 3rd year, and so on. So I quickly took note of that, and beginning with the 82 card releases, again, Topps, Fleer, and Donruss, I started to search in the local stores and newspaper shops and all for the Cal Ripkens, the Kent Herbecks, the Steve Saxes, all the key rookie cards from 82. And back then they were cello packs and rack packs as well as wax, so you can actually see the cards on top and on the bottom. And also many times the pattern of cards, the order that the cards were in inside the packs would be the same. So if you knew the card on top and you knew the card on the bottom, it generally was exact same cards all the way through the pack. So I used that to my advantage and picked up some of those throughout the 82 season. And then going forward into 83, 84, 85, I did the same thing, picking up the Tony Gwynns and the Sandbergs and the Strawberries and the Mattingleys and so on. So I did that all the way through the 80s, mainly collected rookie cards. And back then you can pick up cards when they first came out, like Mark McGwire Team USA card was 15 cents. You could buy 100 of them. So I started to invest in rookie cards. And back around 1990 or so, I started to gravitate towards attending a lot of minor league games and starting to collect autographs, getting a lot of the cards, rookie cards I had signed from the prospects that were coming up through the minors during the 90s. So I went to a lot of games in Richmond, Virginia, and Reading, Pennsylvania, and Trenton, New Jersey, and places like that, and got a lot of autographs. The guys back then would sign for free, usually as many cards as you wanted. So it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing that, like I said, throughout the 90s. By the late 90s, I was starting to get into grading, was becoming a thing at that point. PSA had been around for almost a decade, and SGC was also starting up at that point. And so I started looking for the key cards at that time, late 80s through the 90s, was Ken Griffey Jr. rookies, Barry Bonds rookies, stuff like that, Sammy Sosa. So I started collecting graded, and what I was looking for was either 9s or 10s, and Beckett BGS 10 pristines were starting to become a really popular item back in around 2000 or so. They were starting to bring thousands of dollars. So I started getting into those for a couple of years, and I had some Griffeys and Sosas and Bonds and Kobe Bryant, basketball. He was a 96 rookie. And enjoyed doing that, but it was getting kind of expensive. And then if a guy got hurt, you could see a huge drop in prices and values, so that was kind of a problem. So early 2000s, around 2004, I was looking on eBay for my Beckett 10s and came across a Bob Gibson rookie card from 1959 Topps, and not in great condition. It was well used, but still was a Hall of Fame great, and obviously had some value. And I see it was being sold for $40. And I thought to myself, here's an all-time great in the Hall of Fame, never going to get injured or anything like that. And his card's $40, and I'm paying thousands of dollars for these Beckett 10s, pristines, that could, if the guy gets injured and his career ends tomorrow, could be basically worthless. So at that point, I, little by little, started to gravitate towards vintage for the first time. And the way I started the vintage collection was I decided I would work initially with the post-war Hall of Fame rookies is what I would go after. So at that point, by the early 2000s, it had been about 15 or 20 years that Beckett had been identifying the post-war rookie cards in the price guides, notating them with an RC. So it wasn't very difficult to figure out which were the rookie cards, who was in the Hall of Fame, and those are the cards I was going after. I didn't have a big budget at that time. I was just kind of at a career point where I wasn't kind of at my max as far as income yet. So what I did was I made a decision that I would only be willing to pay a maximum of 10% of the high Beckett price guide at that time. Basically, Beckett had a high column and a low column, so I would pay maximum of 10% of whatever the high column was for the card, which ended up leaving me with most of the cards in poor to poor to fair to good condition, with some of the later cards from the 70s and 80s a little bit better, but generally low grade cards. So it took me a couple of years. By about 2006, I had basically completed all of the post-war Hall of Fame rookies. The last one I had acquired was actually the most expensive, was the 1952 Topps Eddie Matthews. So at that point I had all the post-war cards, and decided to start looking into the pre-war, and those were not so well defined by Beckett or any other price guide out there really. So I started to, I ordered a vintage catalog of baseball cards because I was told by some friends that that was a good starting point. And they give you a lot of information and a lot of pictures of old vintage sets from pre-war, all the way through 1980. So I ordered the vintage catalog and started reviewing it, going through it, and spending hours and hours of researching and looking up all the Hall of Famers and identifying when their earliest card or first cards were issued. And little by little, I started to pick up some of the pre-war Hall of Famers at that time. And as I went along, I tried to upgrade, and an upgrade for me wasn't a condition upgrade. An upgrade for me was going back to an earlier card than what I had before. Some of the cards obviously were not affordable, like a Babe Ruth rookie and some cards like that. But as I went along, I tried to go back earlier and earlier and collect every single Hall of Famer. So that included not only players, but also managers, umpires, Negro leaguers, executives, and pioneers. Um, so it was going to be quite a challenging task, especially some of the guys like the pioneers from the 19th century, the Negro League guys that basically never had a card issued. I had to expand my horizons a little bit and start looking also at postcards, real photo postcards, type 1 original photographs, things like that, to try to get images of these guys. And everything I wanted had to be career contemporary, so I was not looking for modern or post playing days stuff. It all had to be during their time playing, or during their time in Major League Baseball. So by 2010 or so, I had acquired a good amount of them, and I was kind of focusing at that point. It was mainly the Negro Leaguers and the 19th century guys, that were much tougher. So I started really doing a lot of research in Negro League material, what's available out there in terms of that. And of course, there was never any cards printed of Negro Leaguers in the U.S. But what I came to find out was they did print cards of the Negro League guys that played winter ball in various other countries, such as Cuba, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and those kind of places. And those cards were out there, although extremely rare and extremely expensive, even back then in the early 20 teens. So anyway, working for a few years more with that, by 2014 I had actually put together a collection where I had one career contemporary, as close to rookie as I could get, of every single Hall of Famer, which back then was 310 guys. And the guys that I didn't have actual rookies were the ones that were either super expensive or very rare, or most of the time was both of those situations together. So the guys I was missing was like Babe Ruth rookies, Cy Young rookie, Honus Wagner rookie, stuff like that. So around 2014, my collection kind of came to a halt for the most part. I wasn't really buying anything anymore. I pretty much had everything that I could afford, and so it wasn't a whole lot of fun at that point. So what I did was I decided I'm going to sell off the whole rookie collection, and I'm going to take all that money and put it into Negro League material, as I had been doing a lot of research for the past few years at that point on Negro League stuff. So I did that, and over the next almost a decade, up until COVID, I collected Negro League material. I had very few pieces. I had maybe a total of 35 total Negro League items. Most of them were not cards. Most of them were either postcards or original photos. I had a program or two, a scorecard, anything with an image of the Negro League guys. And everybody had to be in the Hall of Fame. So I did that, like I said, up until around 2020, at which point I ended up selling off the Negro League collection. Prices were really crazy, and I thought I would never get more for the cards and the collection at that time. So I decided to sell, and ended up taking the money. And basically, what I have today is what I purchased with those funds, which is really just the four sports iconic rookie cards, like the really top tier guys, like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, and Kareem in basketball, and Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe in hockey, and Jim Brown and Johnny Unitas and in football, and Mickey Mantles and Ty Cobb and Lou Gehrig and Hank Aaron and Willie Mays in baseball. So that's the kind of stuff that I still have today. Um, but So what I wanted to do is I wanted to start this channel to kind of have an open discussion with those that are also interested in collecting Hall of Fame rookies. Baseball will be the primary focus, but I have interest in, we'll cover all four sports, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and hoping we can get a lot of different opinions and all. There's a lot of different viewpoints as far as what's a rookie card. Even the simple thing is what's the definition of a card? It's been depending on size, depending on the material that it's made out of, things like that are all factors in, whether something's a card or not, and if it is a card, is it a rookie card or not? Um, so that's kind of the purpose of starting this channel. As a second idea, I also self-published a Negro League baseball collectibles guide back in 2015, 2016. After all the research I had done about Negro League material, and I was able to compile, it's about 1,200 photographs of Negro League cards and postcards and original photos and stuff like that. And so a second video every week I'm going to try to do on Sundays. The rookie card video I'm hoping to do every Wednesday. The other video on Sunday would be geared towards Negro League material, Cuban League stuff, Puerto Rican League stuff, Venezuelan cards, things like that I'll present and show, and hopefully have a good discussion back and forth on those kinds of items as well. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, my background, my thinking, my reasoning for starting a YouTube channel. I think both of these areas, Hall of Fame rookie cards, especially on the pre-war side where they're not so clearly defined, as people become more knowledgeable about those and know which cards to go after, I think there could be a huge increase in interest in that type of collecting. As well as the Negro League material. It's pretty obvious that the Negro League material is very scarce, but there is stuff out there. And if you get a feel for the kinds of things that are out there, it's not a hopeless situation. You can find Josh Gibson items, from his playing days, and Satchel Paige items from his playing days in the Negro Leagues and all that. So I'm hoping that my videos will be well received, and hoping to have a good interaction back and forth and some comments and questions after each video. What I'd like to do is I'll start every week's new video with comments and questions from the previous week that are left by viewers, and I'll try to answer those or have discussion about those, and then move on to the weekly material that I would like to present. The rookie videos I'm planning to do an alphabetical listing of Baseball Hall of Fame first. So we'll start at A with Hank Aaron, and every week I'm going to try to do 5 players, and I'm going to talk about the rookie cards and rookie card possibilities for each player, each of the 5. And then eventually do the same thing moving on to football and basketball and hockey. And the Negro League material is going to focus initially on the cards that are out there. And then eventually move on to memorabilia with images on it, again, postcards, real photos and all. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Look forward to putting out my first weekly Wednesday video next week on the Baseball Hall of Fame rookies, the first 5. And hope you'll join me every week for that, as well as those people that are interested in Negro League material. So have a great day, and come back to the channel soon.